So today's lesson, we're going to take a look at the verb. I'm going to begin with issues with tense, aspect, and mood. So what are tense, aspect, and mood? Let's get some definitions down. Tense shows the time when an action or situation takes place. Jim walks to school, the situation takes place in the present. Versus Jim walked to school, the situation takes place in the past. Aspect reflects the way the action or situation is regarded or experienced. So it can be regarded as an action being completed or an action in progress. So Jim walks to school in the simple versus Jim is walking to school in the progressive. And obviously the progressive refers to the action in progress. Jim is right now in this situation, in this instance, walking to school. Mood relates the action or situation to conditions like certainty, obligation, necessity, possibility, etc. So Jim may walk to school, permission, versus Jim has to walk to school, necessity. So the may and the has to are what we call modal verbs because they signify things like, in the first instance, it signifies permission. In the second instance, it signifies necessity. Now, tense, aspect, and mood in academic writing. It makes little sense to view these categories as completely separate from each other because they are connected to each other and they influence each other. However, the majority of cases, the tense, aspect, and mood are relatively clear and unproblematic. I've uploaded 3 sample essays for you to take a look at. Right? The sample essays are roughly 300 to 500 words. And go through them and see which tenses are being used. Right? What kind of aspect is being used? Is it a progressive? Is it, let's say, a perfect? Right? What kind of mood is being used? Is there any mood being used at all? And you'll see that it's relatively clear and straightforward why you use exactly the tense, aspect, and mood that you use. However, there are 3 issues that German students have a problem with. The first issue is the use of the perfect to express the German Zeit. The second issue is conditionals, or recognizing a conditional situation. And the third issue is a sequence of tenses. So let's take a look at the first issue. The use of perfect for Zeit. Right, so let's take a look at the problem. Ich kenne ihn seit 10 Jahren. There are 3 different possibilities to translate this sentence. I know him for 10 years, I am knowing him for 10 years, and I have known him for 10 years. Right, the correct answer, I have known him for 10 years. Right, I know him for 10 years, and I'm knowing him for 10 years. Both of those answers are incorrect. Now, why? So let's envision this action or this situation conceptually. Right, so the question responded to is, how long have you known him? So let's say we're at a party, and there's me and my friend, and there's some guy over in the distance, let's say at the buffet, and my friend asks me, do you know that guy over there? And I say, yes, I know him. I know him, I recognize that person. Then he asks me, how long have you known him? Well, I have known him for 10 years. In German, ich kenne ihn seit 10 Jahren. So why do we use the perfect here? The starting point of the situation was 10 years ago. Let's say we met in a bar, we got to know each other. We're dealing with a block of time from that point in time, 10 years ago, up to the present time, me standing here with my friend saying, yes, I've known that guy for 10 years. And this action will most likely continue on into the future. I'm not going to die now. He's not going to die. That guy's not going to die in the next maybe 2 seconds. So this will most likely continue on into the future. So we use the perfect for a couple of reasons. The perfect has what we call a past-present link, or the current relevance. So in contrast to the past, I met him 10 years ago, something that happened 10 years ago. I have known him for 10 years. So it's an action that started in the past and stretches on up until the present time, me standing here with my friend looking at that guy talking and talking about how long I've known him. So that's why there's the difference between the present perfect and the simple past. However, this action also has a connection to the past, which is why we don't use a present simple or present continuous to express this. Obviously, it's 10 years ago I met him, and it continues on up to the present. So the use of perfect for Zeit too. So Zeit as a preposition of time can be expressed with a since or with a for. So if we use a point in time, we use a since. So since 1992, I've known him since 1992, or I've known him since last fall. Seit, when we talk about a period of time, for 10 years, for a long time. I've known him for 10 years, I've known him for a long time, I've known him for ages, etc. However, seit can also be used as a temporal subordinate conjunction. And there are two patterns that we have to be careful of. And these are these two patterns that give German students a lot of problems. So take a look at these two sentences. Since the US invaded Iraq, many people have died. Since plus the past, present perfect. Why do we use the past there versus the present perfect? We'll deal with that in a moment. Since the US has been in Iraq, many people have died. We have since plus present perfect, present perfect. Now, what's the difference between these two patterns? Since the US invaded Iraq, many people have died. Past in the since clause refers to a completed starting point in past for action or situation in the main clause. When did the US invade Iraq? In 2003. So since the US invaded Iraq in 2003, an action in the past, many people from 2003 up into the present have died. So the present perfect in the main clause refers to an indefinite period of time beginning from action in the since clause and stretching on into the present. The second pattern, since the US has been in Iraq, many people have died. Now, the present perfect in both clauses express that the actions are what we call parallel actions or simultaneous actions. And both actions started in the past and go on for an indefinite period of time leading up to the present. So those are your two patterns.